Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for a slight technical glitch. My name is Rahul Agarwal. I represent a company named Nuance Systems. We are into battery energy storage systems. I come with almost like 3+ decades of industry experience, mainly into the field of automation. Nuance Systems, and the topic that we have for today is EMS applications in the real-world BESS projects. So first of all, I would like to thank my earlier speaker because she introduced the topic of BESS. She talked about some of the use cases and the applications that we have. Maybe I'll probably get into some more details than what she actually touched upon. So that's how we have a connectivity in here. So when we talk in terms of Nuance Systems, so we have two prime collaborators. On the technology side, we have a collaboration with a company called Dynapower. They are in existence for almost like 40+ years. They are the leaders when it comes to dynamic systems, transfers in terms of higher megawatt kind of a scale. They are a US-based company. And when it comes to financing, we are funded by Norfund, which is actually Norway-based private equity fund, and KDB, KFW, and things of those kind. We started about 4 years ago in the year 2020. And till this point of time, we have got into 3 major sectors that people are looking for. So one is in the green hydrogen, second is the battery energy storage systems, and then on the e-mobility side. So e-mobility, we actually started, and we have got some battery chargers, where we are supplying the power to those battery chargers, are installed in places like Leh, for that matter. So, the PCS, the battery, the converters, everything, we are doing it all in-house. As far as the installation is concerned, we are one of the very few in the country which have got products which are UL listed. So when it comes to US and the European market, or the India, or the Southeast Asia, Asian market, we are able to cater to all those requirements. We have got 2 facilities based out of Baroda, where we are having the installed capacity of almost like 1+ gigawatt capacity converters we can make every year. And we are proud to be a startup, make in India for the world. These are some of the customers that we have worked with. So if you see a lot of marquee customers in terms of, you've got ONGC, NTPC, where we have done some pilot projects for them. They want to create some kind of a microgrid within their own grid as such. Tata Power, Walmart, and many other customers we have. Besides that, we are working, with some of the customers back in Southeast Asia as well. Countries like Pacific, those kind of area also we are fairly strong. And though we are in existence for a very small time, we have been adequately awarded also for the solutions that we are offering to the market. So, when we are talking in terms of battery energy storage system, the heart of that particular system is basically an EMS. So EMS is nothing but energy management system. Because it comes from Nuance, so it's like NEEMS. And, there is an interesting thing that we have. When we are talking in terms of EMS, the origin, I would say, rather, the origin is actually the neem tree. All of us are aware that India mein jagah jagah paya jata hai. It is something which is green throughout the year, one of the rare trees that we actually have in the country, found in India primarily. And all parts of that tree are useful, whether it is stem or a leaf or the root and everything. So when it comes to neems, this is something that we are, this offers that depending upon all our applications with respect to BESS, we are able to address all of those applications. So some of the applications that are required as part of microgrid or battery energy storage systems are listed here, and I will try to cover a few of them as part of my presentation. So one thing is that when we are looking at EMS or the battery energy storage system, we should be able to connect with multiple different sources, whether it is solar, whether it is wind, or you have a DG in place, grid. Waste heat recovery systems also we have integrated in one of our projects. And able to deliver to the customer, depending upon their business objective, whether they want green power, they want sustainable power, they want resilient systems, things of those kind. Again, from a technology side, when it comes to renewables, there could be 3. For battery energy storage system, there could be 3 configurations. So one is an AC coupled system. When we are looking at AC coupled system, like you have a battery with a battery inverter which converts power to AC and then it feeds to the grid. The other could be The middle one, the DC coupled PV inverter system, where we actually have the battery connected to a DC to DC inverter. And then we have a PV inverter also connected in there, and then we are feeding power to the grid. And the third option, which is becoming more popular these days because of the output, the higher throughput that the system offers, is with the battery system, PV array with a DC to DC system having an MPPT, and then connecting it to a battery inverter and then to the grid. So basically, in the last configuration, what we have, the losses are minimized, and the output or the throughput actually increases. So starting with the utility scale project. So utility, when we are talking about, for all these IPPs, what we have is they have some committed power to the grid. Sometimes there is a deficit forecast, the weather changes, the way it is, the climate change which actually is happening is that many of these IPPs are actually paying those demand side penalties, utility is actually looking for those. Having a battery energy system in place actually helps you mitigate that kind of a thing. Because in case there is an excess generation, you can store it in the battery and discharge when the solar output is lesser. Or typically, if you look at it, when we have the wind turbines in place, during the monsoon months, the generation are much, much higher. Sometimes, the excess DC capacity that you have actually installed in terms of solar inverters need to be kind of curtailed. Using those battery systems, you can actually reduce those possibilities of penalty and harvest the energy for a longer time. This is basically, again, typical architect, somebody who are kind of interested on the technology side of it with respect to what all automation system we have. For large projects, it would have a typical redundancy would be there at every place in terms of controller, the power supplies, the networks, and things of those kind. Just to ensure that any problem with the technology is not hampering the generation systems. This is one project. This is actually a DC coupled system. So in this particular case, no missing laser? Okay. Sorry? No. Anyway. So in this particular case, what we are actually doing is, this is kind of I would say, a utility case, but this is for a behind-the-meter application. So typically, when it is kind of morning, you actually have the solar coming in. So this line, it is too close for me. So the line is actually blue, is the solar irradiation we are talking about. This line is you can say for a utility customer, it is like the power which is kind of confirmed to the utility as such by the IPP. This is actually the grid usage we have. So what actually happens is that as the solar is rising, the generation is there from the system. Whatever is the load and the forecast, the power is being fed. In case there is a higher generation, which is actually this particular slope that I'm talking about here, this particular region, at this point of time, the battery is actually stored into the power, excess power is actually stored in the battery. And what happens is that in the evening, this particular case, we had the TOD kind of an application where the battery, energy which is stored here in the system, when the tariff is higher, the battery is discharged into the grid so as to reduce the customer's, power tariff. Here again, if you see, okay. This is kind of a detailed thing. So if you see, the brown line is something which is, we are talking in terms of the solar generation. The blue line, the maximum PCS output is, you can say, the forecast. The light blue line is basically the battery charging capacity. And come 6 o'clock, the battery is discharged into the system. So this way, we are able to take care of renewable energy shifting. Whenever there is a higher power available, we are harvesting it into the battery. When the tariffs are higher, that time we're discharging that power into the grid, or maybe the customer's load, and shifting that. And then, we can do this clipping and recapture. I would actually go through the next thing. Sorry. Okay. So here, another use case that we actually have is you can have multiple of those energy sources connected onto the same system, whether it's the DG or the PV, the grid, the battery. So typically, in this particular case, the customer starts with the grid in the morning, stores the battery for a certain thing. This is a school application, wherein the sanctioned load is lesser than the actual load. And the school, because it operates for a smaller amount of time, having a fixed charge with a higher sanctioned load becomes commercially difficult. So those particular cases, the customer has gone for a battery. Whenever excess load requirement is there, they are, here the positive side, this particular block, is when the battery is coming into picture and kind of discharging that excess load, so that the penalties that they were paying because of excess load coming into the picture are kind of avoided. And then whatever is the stored energy in the battery is actually discharged into the system when the solar is lesser, so that their grid, it is offsetting the grid for later times. This is another use case. This is for a mining application. So where there is a large customer conveyor, and then you have lumps of different material coming onto the conveyor, so that the load requirement is very frequently kind of changing. So using these battery systems, we are able to kind of smoothen those, because whenever excess requirements are there, the battery is able to feed in onto the load and make it smoother. This is another case where the customer wanted to go completely off-grid. So they wanted to use the renewable power only. So here we have that with the solar, we are charging the battery, charging it to a certain voltage. So the solar and the battery are able to supply to the load for a certain amount of time. After that, the customer goes off-grid again, on-grid again, battery charges again, and then, on-off those particular cycles are actually happening in here. That's another thing that we have. And this way we are ensuring that there is no outage on the customer side also, because there is the dynamic transfer. So going from a grid forming mode to a grid charging mode, grid following mode, those transfers are happening seamlessly as such. And, ensuring that there is zero export to the grid. These are some of the reports. Typically, from a user perspective, you can have daily generation, how much is used, how much has been discharged onto the grid, some faults for an update, and things of those kind.
Agarwal, for such an interesting session. Thank you for giving your experience.